What is this nonsense? This bag is a disgrace, not a designer piece. Her hands shake as she holds the purchase that was supposed to be her pride. Instead of fine leather, rough imitation; instead of signature shine, cheap plastic. She throws the bag onto the table and cries out, "They promised me an authentic piece for $2,200. But this is not what it was supposed to be." The burning question: who bears the blame, the seller who swore it was real, or the buyer who trusted the promise? For years, she had dreamed of owning this bag. She would stop in front of boutique windows just to stare at it, imagining the day she could finally walk into a cafe or an office carrying it proudly on her shoulder. To her, it wasn't just an accessory, it was proof of hard work, style, and independence. Something she thought would make her feel accomplished. But in official boutiques, the price tag was far beyond reach. So when she came across an online seller advertising, "Authentic designer bag from Italy, limited discount," her heart leapt. The listing was polished, filled with glossy photos showing the bag in its branded box, complete with dust cover, logo tags, and even a receipt written in Italian. It looked almost too good to be true. The seller herself seemed trustworthy. She responded quickly to messages, offered long explanations about her supplier connections, and even recorded a short video, holding the bag up to the camera. "It's 100% authentic," she insisted. "In the official boutique, this exact model is $3,500. I can sell it to you for only $2,200. It's a unique chance. Someone else will take it if you don't." The woman hesitated. $2,200 was still a fortune. But she convinced herself it was an investment, better to buy now at a discount than never at all. She pulled cash from her savings, borrowed the rest, and handed over the money in person. The seller reassured her. "Cash is safer, no taxes or extra bank fees." When she first held the bag in her hands, her excitement drowned out any doubt. It came in a clean white box, wrapped in branded tissue paper, with a small card that read "Certificate of Authenticity." She posed with it in front of the mirror, sent selfies to her friends, and smiled at the thought that she finally had what she had wanted for so long. But cracks began to show quickly. At a dinner party, one of her friends, a stylist, picked it up and frowned. "These stitches aren't straight. Look at the zipper hardware, the finish looks cheap. And that smell, real leather doesn't smell like that." Her heart sank, but she tried to push the doubts aside. She told herself maybe it was just a different factory batch, or maybe her friend was being overly critical. Still, the unease grew. Finally, she decided to check the serial number printed on the inside tag. She entered it into the brand's official database online. The result appeared instantly: invalid. No such product exists. Her $2,200 dream crumbled in that moment. The bag in her hands wasn't the symbol of success she had longed for, it was a fake worth no more than $100. Her first reaction was pure outrage. She immediately wrote to the seller. "What is this? The bag turned out to be fake. Return my $2,200. The reply came quickly, cold and dismissive. "I was only reselling it. I bought it from a supplier myself. If something is wrong, it's not my fault." The woman trembled with anger. She opened their old chat and scrolled back to the very lines where the seller had sworn in writing, 100% authentic, original from Italy. She took screenshots and sent them back. "You promised me it was authentic. Don't try to blame me." But the seller only grew more defensive. "I'm not an expert. You should have checked the bag yourself before buying it. That's your own carelessness." Those words cut like a slap in the face. Not only had she been cheated, now she was being made to feel guilty for believing the lie. That night, she decided to gather evidence. Her friends became the first witnesses. One recalled, "I saw her selling discounted bags more than a year ago. Everyone wondered how the prices could be so low." Another friend added, "I once asked her why she always had branded bags in stock. She dodged the question. Honestly, I suspected something wasn't right. Piece by piece, the puzzle formed. The woman discovered several more acquaintances who had bought from the same seller. Their stories matched the pattern. One bag fell apart at the seams within weeks, another had metal parts that tarnished almost immediately. These weren't isolated accidents, they were signs of a scheme. She turned to professional authentication experts. They inspected the bag under bright lights, compared it to official models, and gave their verdict. This is a counterfeit, and a very poor one. The materials are substandard, the logo is incorrectly applied, the serial number is fabricated. Market value, no more than $100. She held the official report in her hands. It was no longer just suspicion, it was proof, something she could take to court. Meanwhile, her conversations with the seller spiraled into constant arguments. "You knew this was fake," she accused. "I didn't know anything, and you can't prove I did," came the retort. Then the tone shifted to threats. "Stop slandering me, or I'll sue you for defamation," the seller warned. That was the breaking point. The woman realized there was no turning back. She gathered everything. Screenshots of messages where the seller had promised 100% authentic. The official expert report proving the counterfeit. Testimonies from friends and acquaintances confirming repeated sales of discounted bags. Receipts and a handwritten note acknowledging the $2,200 payment. Her demands were clear: a full refund plus a public admission of fraud. Because by now, this was bigger than just one purchase. It was about justice, principle, and dignity. And the deeper she dug, the more certain she became, this wasn't an innocent mistake. It was a deliberate scam. Her dream had turned into a battle, and she was ready to fight it to the very end. The courtroom was full. Some had come out of curiosity, others to support the deceived buyer. When the judge entered, the chatter instantly died, and a heavy silence settled over the room. The seller sat with an air of confidence, as if she still believed she could avoid responsibility. In front of her lay a thin folder of documents. When it was her turn to speak, she stood and handed a sheet to the judge. "Here's a receipt from my supplier. I bought the bag honestly. If it turned out not to be authentic, that is not my fault." The judge slowly took the paper. It was printed on ordinary office paper, with no watermarks or security features. The receipt listed some unknown company name, with no address or contact information. "This is your evidence?" the judge asked, raising his eyes. "Yes, Your Honor. I am a victim too." A ripple of laughter moved through the courtroom. Then the buyer rose and handed her bag to the judge. He opened it, inspected the stitching, paused at the logo. The lines on his forehead deepened. "The stitching is uneven. The serial number, I'm told, does not match official databases. Explain this." The seller spread her hands. "I'm not an expert. I trusted my supplier." An authentication expert was then called forward. A middle-aged woman in a dark suit stepped up, carrying a magnifying glass and documents. She placed the bag on the desk and began to explain. "Authentic bags from this brand always have flawless stitching. They use only a specific type of leather, and the metal hardware is produced in Italy with engraved marks. Here we see clear deviations, different material, cheap metal, a serial number invented at random." She held up an official certificate. "This is officially confirmed as a counterfeit. Its market value is about $100. Another murmur spread through the audience. The buyer then presented yet another piece of evidence, a printed copy of the chat. On the screen appeared the words, 100% authentic, original from Italy. The judge frowned. "So you personally guaranteed authenticity?" The seller flushed. "I was only repeating what my supplier said." "But you wrote it in your own words." The tension rose. The atmosphere was so heavy that every breath in the room could be heard. The buyer sat with clenched fists, tears forming in her eyes. She wasn't just proving a case about a bag, she was fighting for dignity, for the right not to be cheated. The judge looked at the documents, the bag, the expert, the chat log. And then he asked the final question, a question that hung in the air like a verdict. Did you know you were selling a fake? The seller remained silent. Her silence spoke louder than any excuse. The courtroom fell into dead silence. Everyone was waiting for only one thing, the judge's decision. The judge flipped through the documents for several more minutes. The courtroom was silent, as if time itself had stopped. Every breath, every rustle of paper felt too loud. At last, the words everyone had been waiting for rang out. The court rules, the seller must return $2,200 to the plaintiff, cover all court expenses, and pay additional damages for emotional distress. The sales contract is declared invalid. The bag is to be confiscated as evidence of fraud. The sentence landed like the strike of a gavel. A murmur rippled through the audience, some nodded in approval, others exchanged surprised glances, but most eyes were fixed only on the woman who had fought for her rights. Tears welled up, but this time they were tears of relief. She had endured. She had proven that truth was on her side. And now her story was proof for others. Even when it feels like you are standing alone against the system, justice can prevail. The seller sat with her head bowed. Every excuse she had made had crumbled into dust. The confidence was gone, replaced only by confusion and shame. The buyer walked out of the courtroom with the court decision in her hand. The bag remained behind as part of the case file, no longer a luxury accessory, but a symbol of lies. A reminder that trust can come at a very high cost. In the hallway, her friends were waiting. They embraced her, and for the first time in weeks, she felt the weight lift from her shoulders. She felt victory. And now the question turns to you, the viewers. Have you ever bought something expensive with a discount or off the record? Did you ever feel that twinge of doubt that it was too good to be true? And what did you do in that moment, trust, or walk away? Because this story isn't only about a bag. It's about choices, about the temptation of an easy path, and about the consequences that can cost thousands of dollars and countless sleepless nights. So think carefully, would you hand over $2,200 to a stranger online for a dream that might turn out to be nothing more than a cheap illusion?